Hello and welcome to the second episode of the second series of the Inside Athletic podcast. I'm delighted to be joined again by Ricki. Ricki, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good to be back on. Looking forward to today's episode.
Perfect. Since we've last spoken, obviously last episode, if you've not listened to it, we spoke to midfielder Charlie Gilmore about his career so far. And in the last episodes, Ricki, we spoke about recent results. We were in good bit of form, and when we're recording this one, we're in another good bit of form as well. So,
I think it's us. I think we're bringing the good luck charm
I
to the
I think
ground.
so. Whenever we plan to record, we start to get a decent run of results. Um, and yeah, so we'll in this episode, for starters, we'll be reviewing the last few games, looking ahead to the next few games in the coming weeks. Speaking about Mo Hatton's testimonial event, which was just on Sunday there, and then speaking to our special guest, the official assistant manager of the football club, Iain Brunskill, will be joining us to talk about his vast coaching career. So, Ricki, the last few games. We'll start with Ayr away on the Friday night. Halloween it was, and it was a spectacular 3 points away from home as well.
Yeah, great result. I think it was one of those games where at Logan where it could have probably gone either way. We were in good form. We'd just come off the back of a win against Wraith, a win against Airdrie, and obviously the blip against County away. But it felt a bit of a season-defining game, perhaps, where you're like, well, if we lose this one or draw, then it's just another sort of couple of games where we've never really got anywhere. But it felt like, right, this is the win now that potentially kickstarts our season and shows that we're finding a bit of form. Everyone knows that you just need to put a bit of form together in this league, and you're shooting right up the table. And on the flip side of that, if you lose a few games or start dropping points, then you're looking over your shoulder. So really important win. I thought we performed really well. Barney getting his goal, which was great. He was claiming that one for sure. Unlike the one in Ross County, which had a bit of dubiety over it. But yeah, really important win. To get that kind of win away from home at a hard place to go was great. And I think all the fans went home happy. And then that obviously led us into the St Johnstone game last Saturday, which I don't know about you, but I thought it was a real, even though it was a draw, I think, which was a fair result, real sort of great game of football, really.
Yeah, I thought just for a championship game of football, it was a great advert for the league. We took the lead early on, deservedly so. I thought we started the game really well, and then after that goal, I think that St Johnstone came back into it. They're a good side, top of the league for a reason. Reece McAlear's free kick was
Outstanding.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And yeah, probably they took control the rest of that first half, had a few chances, but the defence managed to stay solid. Billy forcing a few saves, and then going into the second half, obviously Smith put them ahead midway through the second half. But then after that, I think we made a few changes. Rory McLeod came on, made a big difference. Chris Hamilton came on, and then yeah, we managed to get that equaliser, and maybe it was a slice of luck, but I think we did deserve that.
Deserved it.
It took a
Yeah.
deflection, but Andrew's celebrations after were just it was
That
a great
scenes.
moment.
Yeah.
Um,
We've not really had that. I don't think at East End for a long time. Maybe not since Kyle Benedictus last minute equaliser against Falkirk last season. Like, I don't feel like we've had that big celebrating like, moment of a really important goal at East End for a
It's
long time.
it's really weird. It's really weird actually because I was speaking to one of the volunteers before the game, and we were like, "When's the last time we scored a last minute winner at East End Park?" Like, I know it wasn't a last minute
Yeah,
winner,
yeah.
but it was a last minute goal. When was the last time we scored a last minute winner? And I could not remember.
Felt like a winner.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. So you'd
And it was
you'd
nice
have
to score
preferred
a
to
goal
win
in
it,
the
but
first 10 minutes rather than concede, which has been our sort of downfall over this season. We've kind of been shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit. So to get that early goal was nice, and hopefully we can continue that on into the next few games. But
and
the way I
obviously
was looking at it, so I was just going to say, like, looking at the first quarter, and I think when we spoke to Charlie last time, he said maybe some of the results didn't marry up with our performances. We got 9 points from our first quarter, our first 9 games. So, I think it was maybe could have done better, could have done worse. But we've already now got 10 points in this second quarter. We've only played 5 games. So it feels like it's starting to click a little bit. It seems like we've maybe not got a settled starting 11. We've got injury problems, we've had suspensions, but the boys that are coming in each game seem to sort of slot right in, and it doesn't look like they're trying to get up to speed. And I know it's easy saying that off the back of a good few results, but I start to feel like we're starting to click as a team and really sort of can start pushing on and sort of getting more wins under the belt, which is obviously what we all want.
Yeah, the next few weeks after the international break will be crucial. Got some tough games in there, but there's no reason why we can't be picking up victories on the way as well, and including in the cup against Queen of the South. Going back to Saturday, the two goal scorers from Saturday, Barney Stewart and Andrew Todd, have been called up to the 21 squad along with the five others who are on international duty. Just how great an achievement is that for they two boys in particular and the rest of the five getting into international call-ups?
Yeah, obviously Andy getting called up was sort of what we were all expecting initially, and it didn't happen. And I guess there was a bit of disappointment there. But the Scotland under 21 team have seen sense and called him up, and I'd love to see him get some minutes. I think they've got an opportunity to experiment there. Why he wasn't called up to start with, obviously I don't know, but is he going to get minutes when the fact he wasn't called up originally sort of remains to be seen. But I'd love to see him get some minutes and kind of show what he could do. I'm also a little bit selfish. Do you want to put him in the shop window? Do you want too many people seeing him, or do we want to keep him our little secret for a while longer? But I'm sure Andy will go and represent the club great, and the fact Barney's there as well, and obviously Jeremiah, a few friendly faces in that squad. But I mean, if you think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, can you imagine we would be talking about having 7 players up for international duty? I know we spoke about it last time, Logan, but we're getting used to this, aren't we? Games being postponed for international call-ups. It's just because we're so massive, obviously.
Of course, and Jeremiah will be able to settle them into the 21 squad as well. And yeah, they're obviously playing Gibraltar away in Gibraltar, and then they play back at Fir Park at Motherwell. So a chance for the Scottish supporters to see our boys in action as well.
Yeah, a bit disappointing that the game in Scotland at Fir Park is on the same day as the Scotland Denmark sort of full A squad fixture, because it would have been good to try and maybe do both. I don't think they're on the exact same time, but I think you'd be tight for time. So yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. But I'm sure there'll be a crowd of sorts to cheer them on along with the rest of the team. And then you've got obviously John, Mason, Shea, and Alphonse all being called up, which again is a testament to sort of what we're trying to build as a club, I guess. Young, talented players who can help Dunfermline just now, but potentially go into bigger and better things with their careers. Look at the next games. So obviously we've got a break this week. It's Morton at home. They seem to be the draw specialists this season. They kind of seem to be drawing games out of nowhere. I think that's hopefully a game that we'd be looking to sort of win and keep this run of form going. But Green at Morton was a really hard team to play against. So we're looking to see how we go against them, and then the rearranged Partick Thistle game away. What's your thoughts? How do you think we're going to get on?
Yeah, going back to that Morton game, I think the first game of the season against them, we probably should have came away with the victory. You know, we had a lot of chances in that match when their keeper made 4 or 5 outstanding saves. The one I remember particularly was from Connor Young's free kick in the second half. But yeah, that would be a tough game. You know, Morton always come here and provide a challenge for us. They're a well organised team, as you said. They're getting a lot of draws recently. Hopefully that run can stop from our point of view. Ideally, the game against Partick Thistle would have been this Saturday, so we can continue that momentum. But yeah, obviously just international call-ups, it has been postponed. But yeah, it's a massive game. I suppose any game is massive, but when you look at the league table, you want to kind of try and catch the teams in third and second, and Partick Thistle being one of them. Any sort of win at Fort Hill would be crucial. And
Yeah.
you look at last season, that result there in December last year was out, or it was December or early January was outstanding.
It's been quite a happy hunting ground for us for ages. For Hill, we seem to struggle there, but I can think the game last season and the season before, where we just sort of pulled out the bag a 3-4 goals at Far Hill. So I hopefully that can continue when we play them in a week or so's time. And then after that, we've got the Scottish Cup game, Queen of the South at home. I think from a fan's perspective, cup draw, it's either you want a beatable team at home or a superb away day to go on the bus and maybe keep some refreshments in the pub. So Queen of South at home, obviously a lower division than us at home. I guess it's a favourable tie from that respect. But Queen of South seem to be doing all right, sort of middle of the road this season. So again, probably a tough test and might give us a challenge to get into the next round of the draw.
I think we're just glad Stephen Dobie doesn't play for them anymore.
Yeah, he was unbelievable, wasn't he? But yeah, looking forward to that one.
I think that game, I think it was 7 years ago now, but that game against Queen of the South here when he scored, I
Was it
can't
four?
remember if he scored a
Was it
hat trick
four or
that day. I think
five?
it was 5-2. That was bad memories of playing Queen of the South
One of the
for that one,
coldest
but
games
yeah.
I've ever been at in my life as well. It was absolutely freezing.
Aye.
Let's look forward,
Um,
Logan. Let's look forward.
exactly. Yeah, it's a game. It's a game that we should obviously be looking to win. And get into that next round of the draw. As you said, you would have been hoping for there was like some exciting away games in there. But yeah, Queen of the
Winnable
South,
from
we
a
have to get past.
club's perspective. You want a winnable game. From a fan's
Exactly.
perspective, you want a baby.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, hopefully win this game and get into the next round of the draw, and then obviously the Premiership teams come into play, so you can enjoy anybody, and we can
Exactly.
see what it takes us. But
Yeah.
yeah, getting past Queen of the South first is the main aim.
Absolutely. But no, it feels like real positive vibe around the club just now. Obviously, the results help that, but I think, as I touched on earlier, it feels like we can start seeing some results from the work that we put in over the summer, starting to see the team gelling together as well. So, yeah, the club sort of feels like it's going on the up, and when you look at the league table, it's looking pretty good just now. So, yeah, long may it continue. You were going to tell us a bit about the Mo Hutton testimonial event that was on at the weekend.
Yeah, so I was there on Sunday, Sunday afternoon. Obviously Mo Hutton retiring at the end of the season, so there's been various testimonial events organised for him. This was the first of which at the Glen Pavilion, and yeah, there was over 30 tables of people there supporting Mo and being there for Mo, listening to all the stories from various speakers such as Dick Campbell, Bert Payton, John Robertson was there as well. So yeah, it was a great day and raised a lot of money for Mo with the auction, with the raffle, and yes, some not so shareable stories on here, but
Yeah, absolutely. Family friendly podcast, this.
of course. But yes, some good laughs, some good to see some familiar faces as well, some ex-players, in the crowd and people around the club coming to support Mo as well. So yeah, I think everyone that was there had a good day, and I hope Mo enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, loads more events to come throughout this season, I think. So Mo will be getting the retirement he deserves. Fantastic servant to the club over the years.
Yeah, I think obviously there's multiple events. The team that Mo's got for the committee for testimonial have done some great work with, especially Sunday's event, but going forward as well. And hopefully there'll be more news about that soon as well. So now we're going to speak to Dunfermline's assistant manager Iain Brunskill about his vast coaching career all over the world, and now here at Dunfermline. And now we're joined by our second guest on the Inside Athletic podcast. Last time it was Charlie Gilmore. This time we went over to the management team side, and we've got Iain Brunskill joining us this afternoon. How are you doing, Iain?
I'm good, thank you. A little bit wet. I think the weather's turning exactly how people told me when I was coming to work up here. This is what you'll end up getting. So I think it's. I haven't seen much of it, but it's starting to go that way now. Unfortunately,
How have you enjoyed adapting to Scottish football so far?
I've really enjoyed it. Even obviously the circumstances around myself joining with Neil were a little bit different to what they are now. You know, we were in a bit more of a precarious position in terms of league wise, and the job was a little bit of a different one to what to what we're trying to embark on this season. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's I like the honesty and the competitive nature of the league up here. Everybody gives everything all the time. The games are very close either way. It's just that little bit of quality here and there that can decide games. So the club have been great. The fans are great. Really supportive. So once the sort of the initial role that we came in to do last year, and the club stayed in the league, then it was really easy to sort of once Neil had decided to stay, it was really easy when he brought the question on to me to extend the stay and try and build something moving forward.
No, I think I sort of speak for most Pals fans that we're not really familiar with you, Iain. You've not sort of worked in Scottish football before. I was trying to think of a better phrase than you've been around, but that's the best I could come up with. So I guess it'd be good just to get a bit more background on your sort of careers today and sort of to get you to know you, I suppose, a little bit better. So if we start, sort of best place to start, sort of growing up, where did you grow up and what was your sort of introduction to football, I suppose?
Yeah, well, like anything, you started playing as soon as I could, as soon as you can fit in the boots, and obviously my dad encouraged me from an early age. I grew up in a village really called Burscough, it's sort of West Lancashire, not far from Southport, about probably 15 miles outside of Liverpool. My parents are from Liverpool, but they moved out, late sort of 50s. So I sort of grew up there. Went to school in a bigger town called Ormskirk, which was actually a rugby school. So I played rugby quite a bit from sort of the age of, in high school, the age of sort of 11 to 13. But then obviously the football got serious. Having played for normal junior teams and then getting a district team, I signed for Liverpool. It wasn't an academy back then, it was a centre of excellence. So I signed when I was 11. At Liverpool and sort of went all the way through. I was fortunate I got in sort of the national team squads at 15, 16. My age group is same age group as Phil Neville, Stephen Hughes, who had a good career at Arsenal. Danny Murphy was in my age group, so that was my sort of England group. And I had sort of 3 years playing in the national team. Signed for Liverpool, young professional, did 3 years there, 93 to 96. In the reserve team, so I played quite a lot of reserve team games, probably 80 odd games. Didn't make the grade there, which is, the levels are high. I then moved to Bury. They just won League Two, so they were in League One. We played in that team. David Johnson, Brennan Johnson's dad, he was in that team. Right. Dean Kiley, so they did really well. Paul Butler, Chris Ricki, quite a lot of lads that did really well, and I only played a couple of games in that, and they actually had a double bounce, and they won the League One as well, went into the Championship. So I was only there a year, and then I dropped down into the Conference to play for a club called Leek Town. So I was fitting garage doors during the week, and then training and playing for them. And then on the off chance, I went to meet my parents for an Italian meal, and sat next to them was my old youth team coach, Steve Highway, a very famous, successful ex-player, and obviously had a great reputation for developing young players. And he said, would you come and see me Monday morning? And they opened up the academy. So I was 20 then, and I got a full-time job coaching there. And then so I was coaching full-time in schools, and sort of the academy had opened then, and I was helping out in the age groups then at the age of 20 and playing semi-pro. And that continued for sort of the next sort of 4 or 5 years. And then I decided not to, I didn't want to really play anymore. I wanted to sort of focus on the coaching. And worked 10 years at Liverpool, and then got the chance to go to Blackburn as reserve team coach. An ex-colleague of mine at Liverpool at the academy, Carl Robinson, had gone with Paul Ince to Blackburn, and they needed a reserve team coach. So I hopped over there. So I went from coaching 8-year-olds to coaching senior men's, in sort of that environment, which was brilliant. Unfortunately, Paul moved on after 3 months, and Big Sam came in, and I had a good learning curve. I had a good learning curve with Paul Ince, and Archie Knox was his assistant, obviously. Very well-known name up here, and he was fantastic. Archie actually helped me get on my pro licence, which I'm thankful for. And then Sam moved, and Steve Keane. I worked with Steve Keane because Steve had joined as first team coach. I moved up to sort of be first team coach then, back when we were in the Premier League. Eric Black then came as assistant manager, so another name that's really well known up here, and a fantastic guy. learned a lot from him. A lot about food and wine, to be honest with you, but also quite a lot about football. So that worked really well.
They go hand in hand, right?
They, of course, they do. So I had some great experiences. Even before that, Paul Clement, who's Carlo Ancelotti's assistant, obviously he's been at Real Madrid with him and Chelsea and PSG, and now with Brazil, he came as well. So I had a fantastic sort of 2 or 3 years in my late 20s, early 30s of being a younger coach, but surrounded by a lot of experience. Big Sam, Neil McDonald, Steve Keane, obviously Eric, Paul Clement. So I had Bobby Mims was there also. I had a brilliant period of learning and developing that way. I then left Blackburn. We'd gone to the Championship and Steve moved on, and then a little bit after that, when Henning Berg came in, we left there, unfortunately. And then I had the opportunity to go and work in Malta on a short-term sort of deal. So I went there for 4 months, had some good experience there. My ex-teammate, Tony Warner, who's obviously also came and played up at Celtic, and Carl Tremarco, I know he was at Inverness for a while. They were my goalkeeper and captain, the two of them over in Malta, and we had a sort of successful little spell. And then I got the opportunity to come back to England to work for the English FA as a coach educator. So it was something new for me, something different. Working with younger coaches, getting them through the qualifications, but also part of that was you got to work with the international team. So I had a spell working with the under-19s, England under-19s, under-18s with some really top quality players there. And that developed from there. And then the first time during that period, or towards the back end of the time at Blackburn, I'd done my pro license, and that's when I met the manager now, Neil Lennon. We did that pro license together. And then he got the Bolton job, and I went to Bolton with him. And we had a things started really well. They had a really big impact. And I think it showed me as well there was Neil's willingness to play young players, and that was at the forefront. Even though we had some good experience, he brought Heidegger Johnson in and Emil Heskey, who helped with the experience, but he also put Rob Holding, Zach Clough into the team. That you might not, these guys, they're not, obviously Rob went to Arsenal, Zach went on to Nottingham Forest, but during the sort of financial problems that the club were going through, the sale of those two players really helped keep the club going, and Neil was at the forefront of that in terms of putting young players in and letting them develop within the team. So that's another aspect that in our current situation, it can sort of go under the radar really, and that is a strength of his without a shadow of a doubt. So I had a good spell there. Then, as I say, the club got into some difficulties, and I left, and then I started travelling. So that was the first start. That was the start of my travels. I had 2 years in Jordan as the under-23 coach, which was really good. Went to the got qualified for the Asian finals, which was in China. Then went to China to coach Shanghai. They were called Shanghai SIPG. They're called Shanghai Port now. I took their reserve team for 9 months. Then I got a job through Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I took the head of academy at Molde. So I did that for a year, and then the Chinese sort of FA approached me and said, would I go and be part of their technical department over there, which was a fantastic opportunity, working with the national teams and working with the technical directors. So I embarked on that, and that was I was over there for on and off for sort of 2.5 years, really, in and out of COVID.
I'll pause you there, because COVID in China is probably something we want to maybe find out a little bit more about. But you've condensed probably 20 odd years of experience there into a few minutes. You've probably done yourself a disservice. But one of the questions we're going to ask you, and again, I'm not familiar. So where did you play when you were a player? What was your position?
I was a centre back. So I played there for England, sort of under 15, 16, 17. Also, obviously, at Liverpool when I was coming through as a young pro there. And then it became quite apparent I wasn't going to be big enough to be a centre back, so I played quite a bit of right back. And then when I started playing in the conference, I played a little bit in midfield, just to sort of a holding defensive midfield player. So mainly nothing creative whatsoever. Just
utility,
more
man.
Yeah, I still hold the record actually at the team I played for in the conference for yellow cards. So I can sort of rival the manager on that one. I think it was 14 in a season. So it wasn't so much about being dirty. It was more about being too slow to play in the middle. That was probably what happened. But yeah, so that mainly at the back and sort of defensive midfield play really.
Obviously, you mentioned there about coaching at Liverpool. Now, one player that would have came across that you might have probably would have came across it at Liverpool was Adam Hammill, who we had on loan at Dunfermline. Would it be correct? Do you have any memories of him?
Yeah. Do I remember? Yeah, I used to pick him up every Sunday morning to go to the games. He was in my. Let me get this right. He'd have been in my under-11s team when I was coaching at the academy in Liverpool. Yeah, and I used to pick him up and drop him off. Lovely kid. Had a lot of ability, so I like watching him play. And I know he went on and sort of had he had a decent career. But he was one that probably, if he was around nowadays, they would have probably got a bit more opportunity because he was different. He was a dribbler. He could probably bring the crowd on the feet in the last 10, 15 minutes. So he had a lot of ability, Adam, and he was a good kid.
Yeah, I mean, he was certainly got you on the edge of your seat. That we were struggling that season, sort of languishing down the bottom of the table, and he came in, and I think his debut might have been against Hearts at home, and yeah, it was just one of those players. As soon as he came on, got the ball, started running at defenders. That is exactly what you wanted, was getting on the edge of your seat and getting a bit of excitement, especially when your team's not doing so well. I'm going to the Scottish Cup final that year. And if you are still in touch with Adam, I'm sure you'd like to remind the manager, Neil, that he sent him to school at the Scottish Cup final that year, chipped it over him, and I think Neil Lennon was substituted shortly after. So that's one you can take back to Neil. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. It'll be made up to hear that.
Yeah.
And then so you mentioned you worked under some big characters at Blackburn as well, like Paul Ince and Sam Allardyce. How were they guys to work under, and how much did you learn off of them?
Brilliant guys. Really supportive. Obviously, Paul took me to Blackburn, through sort of Carl as well. But he was really, really interested in what you wanted to do. Really supportive around the younger players. Let you do your job. Obviously, would point you in the right direction. Again, I was probably, what would I have been, late 20s probably, maybe 30 just. When you're a young guy, I was younger than some of the players. I remember.
I was going to ask that. How did that sort of dynamic work? Because did you find it difficult? Or?
I think having it's like anyone. I think if the players you respect them. So a lot of the time when you're getting senior players that are dropping down to play in the reserve team, either they're coming back for fitness, or they need a game, or they're out of the picture. And I think you have to understand them on a human level to say, well, okay, look, I just used to speak to them and say, look, there's some young guys in the team. Just get out of the game what you need to do. Don't give anyone any excuse to criticise you. If you have give us a good 60 minutes and then give me a nod and I'll we'll make a change, and that's your game for the week. And I never really had any issues whatsoever. I remember I think it was my second game as reserve team coach. We played Man United away, and Robbie Fowler played. Now, the last time I'd seen Robbie was when I'd left, in a football sense, was when I'd left Liverpool in 1996, and he'd played in the cup final, and I was, a reserve team player. And then all of a sudden, you're coaching him. So that's how quickly it changes. But again, I don't feel like some of the players might think say differently, but I never thought there was ever an issue, because you're respectful to them, and make sure. And I think the respect then becomes mutual, because they understand what you're trying to do is, predominantly is to bring the younger players through, and generally, I never really had any issues. I had some big players that played. Sam used to give them a game. And sometimes what he'd say rather than one or two of them play, he used to play sort of 6 or 7 senior players, Elad's Diouf, two guy, Benny McCarthy, Brett Emerton, Ryan Nelson. I remember they all played in one game. What are you going to tell? What are you going to say to them guys? Apart from enjoy the game. So yeah.
Yeah, and that Blackburn team at that time was, frightening, wasn't it? They were sort of a Premiership staple back then as well.
Yeah, they were, and we were again another one that sort of Big Sam. His sort of willingness to play young players as well. It sort of goes under the radar because in that period, Grant Hanley, he put Grant in the team. He put Phil Jones in the team. He put Junior Hoylett in the team, and they'd all come through the reserve team. So there was a definite willingness to promote. And it was a good time.
Off the pitch, any stories about Sam Allardyce that are shareable?
No, just a good guy, great guy. Lets everybody do their job. Really supportive around everyone. Helped me personally during a difficult period at that time. So I've only got, don't get me wrong, he can tell you when you need to know, and if you're not doing what you want, he'll let you know. But other than that, a great guy to work for, really, really supportive. So no, is that?
Yeah, top secret. That's fine.
Obviously, you mentioned there about being at Blackburn, Malta, and then coming back to Bolton. How do you end up in Jordan?
Well, funnily enough, an ex-colleague of mine, Stuart Gelling, at Liverpool Academy, we sort of came through the ranks together as young coaches. He got the role of technical director over there for the Jordan FA, and they needed a under-23 coach. There, the under-23s in Asia is very much. There's a lot of emphasis put on it because every year they play a under-23 Asian Championship every 2 years, and the year that it coincides with an Olympic year, they use that tournament for Olympic qualification. So there's quite a lot on it. The year I was there, or the 2 year period I was there, was a non-Olympic year. So you were just basically preparing the younger group for the next stage, really. So Stuart got the job over there through Rick Parry, really, who'd been the chief executive when we'd worked at Liverpool. So I had a really great experience over there. Very different. But that was the first sort of, first taste of working abroad. And working, in a different language, just like I'm doing now.
And then was it from Jordan you ended up going to China, or was there a period in Norway in between that as well?
No, yeah. So after Jordan, what was funny was with the Jordanian job, the championships that we qualified for were in China, and leading up to the tournament, we played China in a friendly match and we beat them. So someone was watching, etc., and this and that, and then a little bit further down the line, so I think my name came up. So they contacted me and said, would I be interested in coming to take Shanghai Port's reserve team? They was doing a big. It was basically a recruitment exercise for the next Olympic team. So they sent a team to England, which is the one I took. They sent a team to France, Portugal, and I think Argentina, and then they brought the teams all back together and did like a selection sort of tournament. It wasn't like a winner or anything, but it was like a selection tournament. And Gus Hiddink was going to be the coach, so he basically watched the tournament and selected. What they tried to do was give each of what they thought were the 4 best squads in China. They gave them a different experience. So part of the job I did with them was we trained at St George's Park for 2 months? Yeah, 2 months. They got the use of, because I'd worked at the FA, we got the use of all the facilities, all those different things. And then we went back to China and took part in the selection sort of exercise. So that was the idea behind that. But off the back of that, I got to speak to a lot of the Chinese FA guys, and that's where further down the line I ended up being approached to go back there.
So kind of paused you earlier on, but you were in China sort of over 2020, I guess, or was that leading up to 2020? And I mean,
Yeah.
away from football, how was that? Because
Well, it was like my wife said I just dodged it every time it came, because one of the funny stories was I was in Norway. I went to Norway to Molde, and then China FA approached me and said, "Look, would you come over? It's a 2-year contract." Yeah, great. So I went over in January, and I went over to Guangzhou, which is not far from Hong Kong, and it was a national team training camp. So I met the technical director, met the staff, blah blah blah. Spoke about details, what we were going to be doing, and then they said, "Right, well, it's Chinese New Year now, so go home for a couple of weeks and then come back in February." I said, "Okay." So as I was coming down the elevator, open the elevator to get in a taxi to go to the airport, I said to my translator, "What's going on here? There's a lot of people at reception." He said, "Oh, something's happened in Wuhan." I was like, "Oh, okay." And got in the taxi, and that was COVID. So that started then. I came home. China locked down. 2 months later, the UK locked down. So I was at home then from January to August. And China started to open up. So I went back in August of that year. Got stuck, couldn't get home. So I was away for almost a year. Didn't see the family for a year. So that was tough. But yeah, it started to, and then things got easier in the UK, in China, so you could go out. It was normal, really. You had to have your mask, etc. It's quite a lot of. It was quite strict, but you could move around. And then it came to sort of Christmas time, and the UK locked down again. So they said, "Look, there's absolutely no way that you can leave and come back. If you leave, you'll have to stay back in the UK, because we can't." They weren't accepting anyone from the UK because they were under lockdown. So I ended up just staying. Did a year, came back for a month or two, and then went back, and things had sort of eased off a little bit. I still had to do 2 blocks of 2 weeks isolation in a hotel room, which is
tough.
Not fantastic, but
yeah, if you've not seen your family for a year, then it's probably worth it to be sitting.
It wasn't great, but yeah.
You must have been one of the few. So I was going to say, you must be one of the few folk that were flying to China from the UK rather than people trying to get home at that time of year. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So it was that happened, and then I decided I wanted to come home. I briefly had a spell at Norwich. I was sort of like in between working with the top end of the academy, 18s, 21s, and then after about a week, another colleague of mine who you'll be aware of, Mike Garrity, who was at Hearts recently, he called me. We'd worked together at Liverpool, and he said, "Look, Blackpool, would you come to Blackpool as first team coach?" And then that's how that happened. I was there went back in the Championship, had a really good season. Ended up going to QPR after that, back to Blackpool, and then I joined up with Neil again in Romania, and then back up to Fife, and here we are.
Just touching on that spell in Romania with Neil, it was short, but you would have got a valid experience working with Neil, first of all at Bolton, and then what did it take much convincing for Neil to get you over to Bucharest?
No, not at all. No,
it's a home game compared to going to China. That's easy.
It's true.
No, it was a big club, Rapid Bucharest, a big club. They had plans to go on and try and qualify for Europe. It was all the things, all the right things were said at the time. It was another experience, another league, a different challenge. The way Neil likes to work, he sort of leaves the day-to-day stuff. Obviously, has a big handle on it, but he leaves the day-to-day stuff to the staff, to me. And that was a big sort of attraction of it. And then he interjects, whenever he sees fit, which has a lot of weight behind it, So that's how we tended to work, and it was a no-brainer for me, really. It was a great experience. It was the football was tough. The club were in a bit of there was a like a bit of a transition period where a lot of the players that had been there for a bit, they were trying to move them on and bring some new players in. It's quite intense over there. There's a lot of coverage of particularly, there's 3 big clubs in Bucharest. So there was quite a lot of attention, and it just we struggled a little bit. We were a little bit unlucky in some games. The last 2 games, both of the last 2 games that we had over there, we were winning 1-0 late on and VAR penalty, so we ended up drawing. We played 6, lost 1, drew 5. I mean, it's not a disaster, but obviously a change is made. But everything happens for a reason, and we wouldn't be where we are now if that happened. So you move on.
I mean, obviously, you have had a vast amount of very varying experiences that we've sort of spoke about over the last few minutes. Do you feel like you've sort of taken something from each of these different leagues that have different styles, I guess, and different kind of experiences? So do you bring that into your coaching now?
Definitely. I think you have to. You look at the players that you have, and what you have. Obviously, you have a preferred way of playing. I don't mean formation. I mean style. What you want to do on the ball and what you want to do off the ball. And that was another thing that sort of, it was no decision for me really when Neil called, because we have a similar way of thinking about the game. We want to play on the front foot. We want to play attacking football. The games, he has a great saying, we're in the entertainment business. We should be entertaining. And that's how we try and play the game. Over there, Romania especially, the heat was a massive factor to begin with, and that's something that was difficult because you want to play a high intensity game, but really you're playing in 42-degree heat. The first game we played, I think we kicked off at 10 o'clock. So it's something a bit different to then what you're trying to bring with in terms of the principles that you're bringing across. It's slightly more difficult. But in terms of, I've found players everywhere. Players are the same, just like people, just off the pitch. If you treat people the right way, respectfully, I think you get that back. We in terms of the experiences and all the different cultures, you don't change culture because that's not what you're there for. You're there to maximise the benefits of that culture, if you understand what I mean by that. Yeah. So
everyone brings something unique to the team. A diverse team sort of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
And obviously, you're now here at Dunfermline, and you mentioned there a lot of your clubs, you're used to working with young players, you're used to having to deal with a young squad, and it's no different here. How much are the players adapting to your and Neil's style so far this season, do you think?
I think we can't really ask any more of them, really. The way, again, like I say, the managers really keen on developing youth players, and that's something that needs. I think it doesn't get the recognition it deserves, really. So the younger ones that we've got here, they'll all get an opportunity. It's like all the players in the squad, but then it's down to them, and I think that's really important. We're here as coaching, etc., and we're putting them on the pitch every single day, but our importance is probably a little bit over emphasised. It's down to them. All we can do is point them in the right direction. Give them some words of encouragement or words of, development, and then it's down to them. And then the younger players that they've taken their opportunity. So whether there's an old saying that if you're good enough, you're old enough. So there's certainly no qualms on the manager's behalf of putting the younger players in because they've done particularly well.
Yes, especially this season, we've really seen a different sort of style of play, which I think you referenced there in terms of the attacking. And we know that, I think from a fan's perspective, we're not going to win every game, but I think even there's a way to lose a game perhaps, or a way to sort of, if you're having a poor game, sort of still have that desire, etc. And we've seen that this season, so it's really exciting to watch, which has been really exciting as a fan. What would be your sort of thoughts on the season so far? So we're a few months in now. Obviously, you had the experience of last season and sort of got to know the club a little bit in slightly different circumstances. But as a sort of report card up until now, how are you finding things?
I think we've shown that we can compete with anyone in the league, whether that's for a whole 90 minutes. That's we've played. The season has been, I suppose, broke up into little different spells, but the games have been the same. And like particularly, if you think about the game last Saturday, we started really well, and then the opposition come into the game, and then we come back into it, and then they score, and then we have a great period after half time, and then they score, and then we dominate the game sort of the last 15, 20 minutes. So I think from a quality point of view, we can match anyone, really. I think we've shown that in all the games that we've played. We are a young team, so the inexperience can bite you sometimes, and that consistency is something that you're craving. But they only get that from playing games. And with young players, like anything, you sort of they do get things wrong. I know some of the older players get it wrong as well, but the younger players get it wrong, and you can fall on the sword in that sense. But generally, we're happy with the way things are going. We want to improve and get that consistency a bit. Maintain that for longer periods in games, and also over the course of maybe a run of games. But overall, we're quite happy with what's happening, really.
So we'll move on to a bit more of a fun section to close off, or a few fun sections. The first one is that you're a perfect player for the players that you've coached. So we've got 8 different categories here. We'll go through them, and you can tell us who you think that these categories most fit to. So the first one is the best right foot.
Best right foot. Oof. I would say Michel Salgado.
It's a strong start. That's before your time, I think, Logan. But aye, strong start.
Probably.
also the best hair.
Well, we've not got hair as a category. Yeah, we'll maybe need to bring that in for next time. So we've got right foot sorted. How about your left foot?
Left foot. I would say difficult. I'd say Martin Olsen.
Who was that? I'm not familiar. Who was he?
Is it the left back from Blackburn? Was it?
Oh, there we
Norwich, played for Sweden.
Norwich, yeah.
Great knowledge. Great knowledge.
And the best passer of a football?
Two guy.
Fair. He, again, before your time, Logan, but he scored one of the best goals I've ever seen at East End Park. Unfortunately, it was not in a Dunfermline top at the time, but a rocket. Check it out on YouTube when he was at Rangers. Unbelievable. I'm sure a few of the listeners will remember that one. And what about dribbling, Iain?
Dribbling. Let's say Junior Hoylett. Hey, let's keep it Scottish, even though he's not Scottish.
He's up here.
Yeah, he was terrific. Younger player, really good. Really, really good.
The next one's a defender, isn't it? But I mean, I know that you're probably just going to say John Todd for this one, so we might need to just skip over that one. But no, your top defender.
Grant was a really good defender. Really good. Bill Jones was a really good defender. Chris Samba, there's another one. Yeah, it's difficult, that one.
Chris Samba was a unit, wasn't he? There was no getting by him.
I would say him, yeah. I would say him. And he used to weigh in with some goals as well.
Who's got the best football IQ?
Let me think. We had... When obviously I worked with the manager at Bolton, we had Ida Johnson, who was a terrific player.
Yeah, he had a couple of ones as well, but he was an intelligent footballer, right?
Yeah, really good.
And last one would be the drive to succeed.
There's a few. You hope that the most of the players that you've got, especially the younger ones, have that in them. Let me think. It's a difficult one. to succeed. Yeah. A few of the lads here are right up there.
That's what the fans will want to hear.
Todd brothers, yeah, the Todd brothers have got that in them certainly to want to get better every single day. So yeah, we'll split that.
They're flying.
Yeah.
Oh, good. We were going to move on. You had a few questions come in since the last episode we had with Charlie. So a few fans got in touch just to ask some questions. So put that out there. The first one, you may have sort of touched on this with your last answer though, but Stuart McKinley was asking, who do you think the biggest prospect at the Pars is at the moment? And obviously we've got a lot to choose from. We've got 7 players called up for international duty at the moment. So, things are going well for the young team, but is there one that stands out for you?
I always, I think it's sometimes it's unfair if you name the younger ones in terms of putting that pressure on them. Obviously, the obvious ones would be Andy, who's doing fantastically well at the moment. John the same. But we have got some. There is a number of them that are going to benefit this year from the experience. Of sort of being in and around the first team. Like I said before, the manager's not scared to put them in and give them the opportunity. So there's a number of them, but I would say obviously the standout at the moment would be sort of what Andy's doing in the league.
He's flying.
Yeah, he's doing well.
Very good. And the other one we had was from Keith Mackey. I think we'd sort of spoke about ambitions at the start of the season, and things seemed to be sort of played down a little bit in terms of what we were expecting the club to do this season. But now we're a few months in. Do you have like an ambition for the season, or do you update goals or anything like that?
I think the ambition is to do as well as we can and to finish as high as we can in the league. I think there's, I think it's a bit, it can be a bit misleading putting actual targets on. We're trying to get gradual improvement week in, week out, day by day, and then week in, week out, and hopefully that shows in the performances. But you don't always get the results that performances sort of warrant, particularly with the nature of the group of players that we've got. So I think to do as well as it'd be nice to have a little run in the cup. So that would be certainly something that I think that if we get a home game, high profile home game, I think we can with the way that the crowd are and the way that we can go about the games, I think that would be an interesting proposition.
You get past Queen of the South first. Let's get over that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And Keith had tagged something on which I think is probably a standard question from all support. But January window isn't a million miles away. Do you think that we'll be strengthening the squad?
We're sort of starting to have some conversations around that at the moment. You get where you are. Obviously, there's been a few injuries here and there, so you want to try and get the full complement back, and then you can really make decisions on how you want to, what that might look like, and if there's any new guys that you want to try and bring in. But certainly, we're well underway of identifying and creating, potential players that we might want to bring to the club, whether that's in January or the start of next season. But hopefully, the squad's in a decent place. But you always want to try and develop and sort of improve in different areas.
This is our last quick segment. Iain, we're just going to give you a couple of quick fire questions and then we'll let you go. So, first one, VAR, do you love it or hate it?
Hate it.
I'll join you maybe that one, yeah.
Yep.
Do you have a favourite away ground, either in Scotland or on your travels?
The Emirates, I thought was amazing when I went there. Yeah.
Who's the best trainer in the squad?
There's a few. Chris Hamilton's really good. I'd probably say him.
And on the other side, who's the worst trainer?
Oh, we don't have any bad trainers at all.
Love to hear that.
Glad to hear that. On you go, Ricki.
No, I was just, did you have, I don't know if, behind the scenes in the team, did you have an initiation song as part of the coaching staff?
No, because you wouldn't be able to get us off once we got going, so we weren't included in that.
Fair. Well, in that case, I'll ask you a different question. Is there one that stood out over the years that you've seen from a player that you can tell us about? We were hearing about
Yeah.
Charlie Gilmore rendition of Penny Arcade, which didn't go down too well. So
I didn't know what that was, unfortunately. So, and then I had we had a young player. Where was it? It must have been at Blackburn who did. I've forgotten the name of it. You know, hits a hot. What's that one called?
I'm not even going to attempt it. But I know
something
the one you
else.
mean.
Anyway, he did that, which was outstanding. So
He went for it.
He did, yeah.
And who was your idol growing up in football?
I had two: Kenny Dalglish and Kenny Dalglish. Yeah, definitely.
Have you got a favourite moment in football so far from your career?
Yeah, we beat Manchester United at Old Trafford on Sir Alex's 70th birthday. Grant Hanley scored the winner, so yeah, that was a good moment. But then we lost the next game. We lost the next game to Stoke at home, so that was that.
Only as good as your last result.
Exactly, yeah.
And penultimate question: your favourite sport outside of football?
Tennis.
Yes, man. Okay.
Well, / paddle. This is you probably won't know this actually. Myself and the manager, we are unbeaten in 14 paddle matches.
That sounds like a challenge.
He's next to me. He's laughing next to me. Yeah. So, anyone wants a paddle court? Wants a game? Then
there's going to be a queue at East End Park now, I think, to take you on. And final question, Ian. What would you be doing if you weren't involved with football?
I'd probably be a model, I think.
Yeah. Gloves? Oh.
No. Yeah, balaclavas.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'd like to be a journalist, actually.
Brilliant. Okay, that brings us to the end.
Ian, thanks for joining us. You've been great. Ricki, thank you for joining me as well. That's been the second episode of the Inside Athletic podcast. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.